Galloway is an engineer, master carpenter, and a complete construction expert, serving Missouri and Illinois for more than 40 years. And now, here is About the House with Troy Galloway.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to About the House. This is your audio university, knowledge about everything about your home, from the construction to the maintenance to real estate and even investing. When you stay tuned to our show, you will actually probably know more about your home on homes than most general contractors. This is an absolutely cool show. It's one of a kind, and we're very grateful for the answer for allowing us to do this. Hey, this is Troy Galloway, your humble host. I'm the owner of Galloway Building Services. Just like the show, we're kind of one of a kind company. There isn't another company that can perform the services Galloway Homes does, but Galloway Building Services does every day through the Midwest. We actually can help people every day. We help people in the construction consulting. If you have any questions about if your job's being done right, or you just want to make sure before you make that final payment that is correct, you give us a call. We also do engineering inspections. We do new construction inspections. We do commercial and residential and industrial inspections. We also do what I really like to do is, as well as that, is we do construction conflict resolution and any expert witnessing if you go into litigation. But what I really like about that is we can also help not just the homeowner, but if you're a contractor and you're trying to get paid and somebody, we all have one of them neighbors that come over and tell us they know everything except for what they're talking about. So you give us a call. If you're a contractor, we can help you with that too. So, and we've been helping folks in the Illinois, Missouri area for over 40 years now. One of the things that I really like to try to make sure that we do is that we make sure you're getting what you paid for. You're not getting ripped off, and everything that's being done right. So it's for longevity. I also, while we're here, I wanted to thank one of our premier sponsors, J&H Properties, real estate brokers, agents. They're large enough to handle all your buying and selling needs, and yet still personal enough to always be there when you make the call. I know buying and selling a home is very stressful, and it's really nice to know that you got somebody at the other end. And J&H Properties is that kind of a company. They'll be there all the way. Give them a call, 314-602-4835. Folks, I'm very excited here today. I have a good friend of mine, Rob Jackson of the Crack Crew, and he's a waterproofing specialist. I've known Rod for a few, I guess for a little over a year or so. I've seen his work. He's very outstanding, and he's on the level. I really think you're going to enjoy listening to what he's got to say today. And we're going to, and being this is the wet season, this is the perfect time to talk to him. He'll give you his phone number and everything at the end. And so here, let's take off. Rob, thank you for coming here today. Tell us exactly, what does a waterproofing company actually try to do?
Well, it can be misleading than waterproofing. Absolutely, we do waterproof, but it's more of a water management. We take water that is entering your house, we tell it where to go, which is often a pump and a pit, and we discharge it out to the exterior of the home. That being said, we also inject cracks, which is waterproofing, and we will put carbon fiber after our injection and do a structural repair. So that's kind of the gist of what we do.
Well, that's because I know a lot of the companies, that's a big name, big word. When they say waterproofing, they get into all kinds of stuff. And frankly, I feel like sometimes they get oversold. And that's why I brought you on board, because I know that you won't sell them anymore or help them in any more ways than what they need. But let me ask you, Rob, what are some of the signs, other than you got water running into your basement, what are some of the signs that my basement is leaking?
Well, let's laugh about that for a second. It's obvious that when the water comes in, we see it, we get, all flustered about it and everything like that. There and again, oftentimes we have a musty smell, sometimes sagging insulation, and there might be moldy spots at the bottom of our walls and stuff like that. So most homeowners know they have a water problem long before they see the water that actually exits the cove, if you will. So, I mean, that's some signs that you can look for as you're going along. And we recommend that you walk your basement, at least a few times a year in rainy season as well.
Explain to us about walking your basement. What do you mean by that?
Well, it spans many traits and stuff like that. But I mean, you're looking for water coming in. You're looking for moisture on the floor. You're looking for mold along the bottom of your walls. Again, you're going to get a smell. You're going to start looking for sagging insulation, as well as you're going to get a look at your heating and air conditioning, your water heaters. I mean, we need to be a little bit more cognizant about looking at our surroundings. We live there. We need to know what's going on in our basements as well as our upstairs as well.
That's a good point, because sometimes I've seen where the hot water heater is blowing off and people think it's a leaky basement, but it's actually not. And I've seen where people come in and try to sell them a waterproofing system, for something that was never going to fix the problem.
Well, and that's another service that the crack crew, we do offer. I mean, there's enough reasons that people absolutely have to use my services that they have no other recourse to go. I mean, but I'll walk out there and I'll walk the property. I'll talk about the property, where they're seeing water, because they live there. They see these things. I don't. I'm limited to that half hour, 45 minutes that I spend with them. But if it's in the scope of the people extending their downspouts, blowing off the discharge on their hot water heater and stuff like that, these things we will advise them, and we'll walk away. No harm, no foul, no money's exchanged hands. But also I know that customer is going to look for me the next time that they absolutely need me.
I know you've done that for some friends of mine in the past, and that's how come I have such a great respect for you. Hey, let me ask you, Rob, how would you know if your basement has been waterproofed?
There's often signs. I mean, if you're privy to seeing the concrete floor, you'll see roughly 14 to 16 inches from the wall. You'll see new concrete where it looks like a patch. So that's signs that there is a drain tile system in there. You can open up. There's often a pit and a pump, a black canister, trash can looking thing, if you will, in one of the corners, and there'll be a piece of white PVC oftentimes ran up the wall and discharged to the outside. So them are obvious signs, and the fact that you're not seeing water if it's properly installed.
Awesome. Hey, this is a question I get asked a lot doing inspections. And when we see water leakage or crackage, can I fix this myself? Well, I know this is what you do, but I have just seen such craziness when do-it-yourselfers do it, but maybe I'm wrong. Help us out here. What do you think?
Well, and I would say out of 3 to 5 of the cracks that we do, per week or per day, whatever the workload is, we're removing the do-it-yourselfer stuff, from hydraulic cement, and these are probably words that you may or may not have heard. People put black tar. Let's talk about the guy that he seals the bottom of his boat with some kind of spray on stuff.
I've seen that advertisement.
We remove all these things, and all it does is it prolongs our process. The cost often goes up if they've really done their handiwork. So it's best to consult a professional, on any kind of thing like that. And let us get a start at it fresh, if you will, than to have to remove all the do-it-yourselfer stuff.
So when somebody does a waterproofing system, and I know you warranty your work, if it starts to leak further along the crack or the crack expands, how do you handle that?
Well, first of all, I want to know right away, and then first we got to determine if it falls underneath your warranty. If you've got a moving wall and we just injected for waterproofing, then we need to address the movement. And that's where we'll go into further details that this wall is moved. You only bought a waterproofing injection. Now we need to go into stopping that wall from moving, be it carbon fiber or some other, more evasive action.
When we go to the next segment here, I want to, if you would please, expand a little bit about this carbon and tell us what's happening with the epoxy. And because I think more do-it-yourselfers are familiar with the epoxy system than they are the carbon. And we're seeing a lot of it, so I want to jump on that. Think about that on the next segment, if you would, please. We're getting ready to wind down and move over to and take a break here for everybody. I thank you folks for listening to About the House with Rob Jackson and the Crack Crew and Troy Galloway, Galloway Building Services. And if you folks have any questions, I want you to reach out there to Rob's webpage and his Facebook page and ask him any questions. Same with us. If you have any questions or you got something that you just pops into your head, reach out there to Galloway Building Services and either our webpage or our Facebook page and ask us, and we could help you. And if we don't know the answer, I know between Rob and I, we know people that do. And not everybody knows everything. I guarantee you the man that thinks he does is the man that knows the least. Well, folks, thank you very much. I appreciate you listening. We will be right back. Welcome back to About the House with Troy Galloway, Galloway Building Services, and my good friend Rob Jackson of the Crack Crew, waterproofing specialist. Hey, Rob, when we got ready to leave on the last segment there, we wanted to get back in here and jump on this carbon coating and epoxy. Help us out here. First, let us kind of know what it is that we're looking at, but also why would we do it, and what's the benefits and then any drawbacks?
Okay, well, carbon fiber, it's been around for many years. I mean, they've used it in aircraft. Heck, it's been to the moon, So, I mean, it's been around for a long time. So it's proven itself. But in structural repair, what we often do is we will inject a crack prior to the carbon fiber, and then we'll remove all that material. Because what we need to do is we need to put the carbon fiber on the concrete. We don't want to put it on any kind of patch or any injection or anything like that, because the two-part epoxy that we use, what it does is it penetrates the pores of the concrete. That's what gives it its structural integrity. Now, the carbon fiber comes in as a material that now has spanned the width of the crack. That's what keeps it from opening back up. But the structural integrity part of it is the two-part epoxy. And again, that absorbs into the pores of the concrete, and that's what gives it its structural integrity.
Well, and it's something I get asked a lot about, too, is the ports that you use. And, of course, most of the time I see the ports are left, and it kind of worries the people. Is that something that needs to be removed? What do you think about that? I mean, I know that it's unsightly, but other than that, is that a good thing, bad thing? What do you think?
Well, it is unsightly, and when I deal with homeowners and I do a lot of real estate and stuff and work for the real estate flippers, investors and stuff like that. I mean, the cleaner look I can give them, the better off I am. Ultimately, the people don't know what we're putting in the walls. They don't know what happens inside them walls. What they see is the surface. So us as the Crack Crew, we always remove our ports. The only reason why we would not remove the ports is because we put epoxy in the wall. The epoxy is going to need 48 hours to cure. So if I remove my ports, it's just going to keep weeping out, and we don't want that. We want that material to stay in that crack.
So when we talk about the ports, I want to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about. I know you and I do. But to tell the folks just exactly what that port look, I know what you know, and that's a silly question, but bear with me. Because it is, a lot of folks might not know what we're talking about, the port that we're using that. And
the port would be a plastic protrusion that's sticking out from the wall. Take it as a big straw. And basically that's what its purpose is. Its purpose is to give us a point to inject that crack. That's its only purpose. It carries no other purpose unless you want to hang your hat on it. I mean, that's up to you. You want me to leave them, just tell me you want me to leave them, and you can hang your prom dress on it if you wish. But other than that, we remove them. We plug that hole with some surface seal or fast-setting epoxy and call it a day. Again, I want the cleanest look I can leave you with.
Another one of the areas that we find, especially on a new home after it's dried out a little bit, or actually the concrete's drying out a little bit, is our snap ties. The snap ties, folks, is what that is that's the part that actually holds our forms together while we're, the concrete forms, and then they strip the forms. But anyway, so our snap ties have a tendency to leak. Now, I've had my little silly remark, grab the life jackets, take the kids to the top of the house, that you're not going to drown. But that's not the right answer. They never like that, because they do worry about that. So help us out here on snap ties. What do you recommend? Is there any recommendation? What do you think?
Absolutely. We can inject snap ties, service lines where your water comes in, any kind of protrusion. We call them service protrusions, and snap ties. Again, what's happening is the chemical makeup of the concrete over the years, with water coming in through that snap tie, it starts rusting. Once it starts rusting, now you have a compromise in that, and then the snap ties start leaking. Some never leak, some leak, and they're the dickens to try and repair, because you have such a small cavity that you're injecting in. But we have low viscosity, and we have several different grades of material. So no crack is ever the same. No crack is a standard crack. We walk in there, we observe it, and we recommend the right injection, whether it be a urethane, a low viscosity two-part epoxy. Again, it's never standard.
Can you warranty after you do a snap tie and repair waterproof? Can you warranty that?
Absolutely. Anybody worth their weight in gold that's out there doing this, if they don't carry a warranty with their crack injection, and whether you call me or any other company, walk away from them. So anybody that has been doing it for the time period that I have been doing it, we went through our mistakes, and we've learned from them, or we should have learned from them. You shouldn't have a problem with warranty in your crack injection.
Well, how many years have you been in this particular industry, Rob?
I started with several companies back in 1983 is when I started.
Oh, that's why you got all that white hair.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. I got white hair, and I'm just tickled I got hair.
Right,
At
right.
this age.
Them grays hold on pretty tight, don't they?
Yeah. Praise God. Yeah. Hey, this is also something that we've been seeing for years, and it's this dry lock system. And, share us what your opinion is. If you used it, why would you use it or not use it?
I wouldn't. I mean, again...
I wouldn't use it.
No, I wouldn't use it. I mean, all it does is it locks the moisture into that wall. You often see it on a block foundation. Again, technology has come a long way. That's all they had back then. We got a little bit of moisture coming in. They hit it with dry lock. Does it work? Has it worked? Yes. But there's many, many other variables and reasons why not to use it. You'd be glad to call me, and we can go over it. Again, if you're looking at it at a dry lock on a block wall, then you've got hydrostatic pressure that's coming in there at some point is why you're trying to stop it. If that's the case, the blocks are often filling up with water, and you need to entertain the idea of getting a drain tile system in there and drilling weep holes into the bottom so that water can get out of them blocks. When you use dry lock on a stone foundation, that is hard limestone. It needs to sweat. Our basements are cool, damp. Oftentimes you're locking that moisture in there, and you're giving your mortar that holds your stone foundation, you're compromising its integrity because you've locked that water in there and it has nowhere to go.
So actually what you're saying, it sounds like, and don't let me put words in your mouth, sounds like you're saying you're causing more problems than you're fixing?
Oftentimes, and they may not show signs for years, and the people who are just now buying into the city, moving back into the city, they're seeing this. You walk down in the basement of the stone foundation. We love these old homes, don't get me wrong, but you go down there and it's all milky and chalky and it's flaking off the wall. That's your dry lock. Again, they didn't have anything else back then.
That's how you can tell. Hey, now you used a word here, and I know you and I know it, but I think a lot of folks might not. hydrostatic pressure.
Yes, sir.
What's that mean?
All our homes have a water table, if you will, around our homes. For the most part, they take care of themselves. When we get rains like we've had in the last 5 years, 10 years, or we're getting astronomical amounts of rain, our homes, whether it be from neglect of downspouts, poor grading, again, a crack that we know and stuff like that, we're starting to see hydrostatic creep in between the walls and the floors, come in cracks that have never leaked before. Again, your block foundations, their cavities are filling up with water and stuff like that had always been fine before, but the ground is not able to take away that saturation of moisture that it used to. So, again, it's time to start addressing that.
That's great. That's great information. Well, folks, we are getting ready to wrap up this segment with Rob Jackson, the Crack Crew. This is Troy Galloway with Galloway Building Services, and we're getting ready to jump in here to the next segment. Thank you very much for listening. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to give him as the Crack Crew, me of Galloway Building Services, any kind of questions. You can touch base with us on our Facebook or our webpage. Thanks, folks. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Sponsored by Troy Galloway and Galloway Building Services, your top choice for professional home inspections in the St. Louis area. GallowayBuildingServices.com.
Hello, folks. We are back with About the House. This is Troy Galloway, Galloway Building Services, your local inspection company, and I am with Rob Jackson, Crack Crew, waterproofing specialist. Welcome back, Rob, and welcome back, folks. And so let's jump right into this here real quick. Here's a question I think everybody gets asked, you and I both. How can I tell if this crack needs a structural repair?
Well, the long answer would be it's always best to get a structural engineer's opinion on it. But if you see a wider crack at the top and narrow at the bottom, that is indication that wall has moved. That being said, you really can't tell. I mean, we do this every day. We see thousands of cracks a year. That's our job. It's free for us to come out there and take a look at it. And my company in particular, we're not going to sell you anything you don't need. If a simple injection is going to take care of it, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to advise you on. And from a warranty standpoint, I can't just stop there if there is movement in that crack and it's a structural crack. That's when I'm going to go into we need to do some carbon fiber or even more evasive than that. So.
All right. Well, and so if it was a structural repair, do you go and we talked earlier about this. You got a structural engineer that you work with, and
absolutely
make sure that you're doing. So that's something that I find a lot of these waterproofing companies. They say they got these folks, but you don't see a stamp. You don't see anybody, signing off on this. It's in house, and but you get a second opinion outside.
Oh, absolutely, and I let the customer decide. Our company, we don't take on them projects. We like to say we stay in our lane. I have a company that I refer out to when you get into big structural repairs. Again, they have structural engineers. I have a structural engineer. We can all coordinate together. I'm plugged into that project just because it's not my work. Or you're not my customer, you're their customer. I stay plugged in with them the whole time.
I'm going to blindside you here with a question here, and I know you get asked this a lot because we always have cracking in our basement floors. Yeah. Is this something that we can waterproof?
That's a complicated answer. Really, it is, and it's a long answer, and I'm going to shorten it up. No. Because all you're going to do is push it to another area that it's going to come up. I can do a lateral crack across the basement floor. All I'm going to often do is push it up between the cove and there. And now it's a hydrostatic issue. We need to address it like that.
That's what I always tell the folks too. And I tell them, hey, if it would be, you can always put a little caulking in it or something, if that's what you feel. But it's really is on a builder's point of view. It's best to put something as a flooring down in the basement. In my opinion, that would be, it could take a little bit of dampness. Anytime we put a piece of cardboard on the floor and take it up, we see a dampness underneath the cardboard. So it's just porous material.
Well, and that's the homeowner or the do-it-yourselfer, moisture test. You either take a piece of aluminum foil, you tape it to the floor, and then you take a piece of saran wrap. And this is going to tell you either you got moisture in the air or you got moisture coming out from that slab. So if you got saran wrap and you come back in 4 days and you've got moisture up underneath that saran wrap that you've taped down to the floor, you have moisture penetrating from underneath that slab into your basement. You put the aluminum foil down, tape it down. 4 days later, you got moisture sitting on top. Now you're entertaining the idea of putting maybe a humidifier. You got moisture in the air down there.
That's a great idea. That's a hope. Folks, remember that. If you don't reach out to Rob, he's going to give you his phone number here when we get done. But that's a good one to remember. Go to our podcast, check this one out, because that's a great tip for everybody. So anyway, let me ask you real quick. We get a lot of concrete block issues, and I know that we're kind of pushing a little bit of the time, but will a low in pressure injection work on a concrete blocks?
Absolutely not. All you're going to do is fill up the cavities with your injection. It's a waste of material. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of your time. Again, when the blocks are filling up with water, you have to put a drain tile system in there and drill weep holes into the bottom of them so the water can get out of them blocks.
Yeah, I believe it or not, and I sure you see it. We all probably see it where they literally, we've seen them being injected, you know, and the customers can't understand. Well, I had it repaired. Of course, they got the tail light warranty, so so they can't see the tail lights, the warranty's evaded. So, and that's something too that I think is very important, folks, is that you make sure that you work with a reputable company, somebody that you could go back and reach out and ask questions to their past customers. How did they treat my home? Did they take care of it? Did they back it up? And that's something that I'm very proud to know what Rob and his company does. Well, folks, thank you for listening to our show here so far. We got a little bit more, but we're going to jump out of here and go back to break. We got to pay for them commercials and jump on in here. We will come in here with the Ask the Expert, easy for me to say, on the next segment. We are back. Thank you, folks. This is Troy Galloway with About the House, and we actually have us a great company here today, Rob Jackson with the Crack Crew, and this is Ask the Expert segment, and this is something that we get out that's very important, I believe, and that is sump pumps and pits. I see that a lot of times when we get into these homes, especially new homes, that they always now put the pit in it. But, of course, there's no code that says you have to put a pump. Well, what do you think about that? Is that something we should be doing? And then I'm going to jump right in there right behind that and ask you about battery backup.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you trying to stump me. But,
dadgummit.
Yeah, that ain't how this works. But anyway, here's the deal. It goes back to walk your basement, folks. In the wet season, if you're seeing water in your pit, absolutely contact us and we'll put you a sump pump in. We'll get it discharged and things like that. Again, it's about knowing your home. You live there, folks. It's one of your single biggest investments in your life. You ought to be real cognizant about the fact of what's going on in your home. Again, if you're getting a lot of water filling up during the spring rains and even winter melts, then you need to entertain the idea of putting a sump pump in there.
Okay, how does the water know to go to the pit?
Oh, then that might be.
I'm trying to stump them. I'm working on it.
Again, it's lower than anything else. It's lower than your rock and anything else that's in that basement, with the exception of probably your lateral of your sewer. But that's what it is. There's holes in the pit. There's rock around the pit, and the water's going to naturally migrate to there.
Go to its weakest point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So now with the battery backup or any backup system, is there more than just one backup system? I'm not for sure.
Well, there's a water backup system too that will work off your sewer or your main line coming in your water. There's that. That's I say relatively new. It's more for rural areas and things like that. Well, in fact, I've got a plumber friend of mine that does quite a few of them for us if requested. When we get into the battery backup, here's the deal. Most of the time when we have water problems or an influx of water coming in, it's during a storm. When it's during the storm, electric goes out, folks. So entertaining the idea of putting a battery backup is absolutely a good idea. If you live in a place where typically your electric doesn't go out, then maybe you can save that added expense for something else. Take the kids to Denny's for the night or something like that. But battery backups they have their place. They absolutely have their place. Again, it's another insurance policy.
You know, I've seen some of them battery backup systems that has the battery charger hooked right to it, but I've seen different types. I mean, regular car battery chargers, but I've also seen different types of charging systems. Is there a difference, or they basically work the same, or what about that?
Well, it sounds like another do-it-yourselfer thing is what we're dealing with here. It's probably something that somebody read online. Maybe YouTube didn't put their own system together, because most reputable pump companies have their own battery backup. Again, it entails another pump. It entails a box with a battery and a charger that remains plugged in, and what it does is it's constantly charging when it's not in operation, and that way when the power does go out, it automatically kicks over to that system.
Sounds kind of like that you would like to have, I'm asking now, a marine grade battery, like a boat battery, a battery that's used to being charged over and over again, or does that make a difference?
Well, and what you're referring to is a deep cycle battery, and that's what it is, and it's like a boat battery. It's designed to have a constant charge going to it at all times and being ready, and that's what you want it. You want it ready when you need it.
Deep cycle, that's the key word to go when you go get your battery.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, now, something too I see a lot, and kind of a pet peeve of mine, but I see where these guys, they especially when we see new homes, for some reason we don't get that discharge very far from the sump pump out. What do you recommend? How far should this discharge go out? The reason I know customers don't like it is because they think it's unsightly. But what do you think? How far do you recommend that should be discharged away from the home?
Well, again, I drive a lot of neighborhoods, and my job is to spot that. I see a lot of them that are just stubbed out of the wall, maybe 90 down, and maybe a little 6-inch nub there. All it's doing is creating more erosion somewhere on your side of your yard or in the back of your yard. Again, that water is going to be sitting against your foundation, and absolutely all you're doing is recycling it. We like a minimum of 10 foot. We like a minimum of 10 foot, and the yard and the grade of the yard will dictate how far we're going to take it. We typically always take ours to a dry well, which is a hole dug in the yard filled with rock with a pop-up. Again, we don't want to give it to the neighbor.
Yeah, no, you won't be your friendly neighbor if you saturate it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you always want to, and ordinance sometimes dictates that. Mm-hmm. You are not going to give it to your neighbor. You have to plan a route or a path that water is going to go.
Well, that's awesome. And, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. That's some great information, folks. And I hope that you can remember that. Like I said, you can always go to our podcast to catch this information. The Crack Crew, Rob Jackson. This is Troy Galloway with About the House. And we really appreciate that Rob is with us and that you folks are listening. And we will catch you on the other side and wrap this show up. Thanks, guys.
Sponsored by Troy Galloway and Galloway Building Services, your top choice for professional home inspections in the St. Louis area. GallowayBuildingServices.com.
Welcome back, folks, to About the House with Troy Galloway, Galloway Building Services, and Rob Jackson of the Crack Crew. Rob, I really have enjoyed you coming out here and visiting with the folks today. And tell us again, how's the best way of reaching you? And share us with your phone number, if you would, please.
Well, thanks, Troy, for having me. I mean, I love you to death, and you're a stellar home inspector. I mean, I refer you all the time.
Well, this is going to cost me.
Right. Checks in the mail, right?
Yeah.
And no, I mean, I refer Troy all the time. We've worked hand in hand on a couple projects as well. But you can reach me, again, my company's The Crack Crew. My name's Rob Jackson. You reach me directly. I come see your project directly. I work on your project directly. You can reach me at 314-805-5692. Again, Rob Jackson, 314-805-5692, or you can follow me on Facebook.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks do follow you on Facebook, and you got a good reputation out there. And I do appreciate you coming out here with us because this is the rainy season. Well, as we're coming here to the end, I do want to...
That's going to cost me, too.
Oh, it's
we're just trading
free.
Money back and forth here, folks.
Yeah, and well, I know his wife, so I go straight to the boss.
That'll get things done.
I also want to thank one of our premier sponsors here, and that's J&H Properties, real estate broker agents. Large enough to handle your largest jobs, and also still personal enough that if you ever have a question or need somebody to talk to, they're always there. Give them a call, 314-602-4835. That's 314-602-4835. And what I like to do is offer to, I'm going to give away some of Rob's money here real quick here. Whenever you reach out to Rob on a project, you tell him you listen to him on this show, and he'll give you a discount. He'll give you a break and help you out a little bit, save you some money. And that's what we're going to do right here also. To the 10th and to the 25th person, will you reach out to Galloway Building Services Facebook page? Reach out there, hit our comment section, and say you've heard this show, and we will give you a free radon test. That's for radon is for radiation, and so it's a $200 value. I think you really will. It's well worth your time. So reach out there, touch our show, and I'm Troy Galloway. My phone number, I'll give you my office number, is 636-394-3112. That's 636-394-3112. Now, I got just a few moments here, and how backed up are you right now, Rob? Say if somebody was to need some help, what's your time there?
Well, I think the key to what you're saying is people need help. And that's what we're all here for. I'm just a servant. My boss lives upstairs in heaven, so that's who I work for. So, I mean, if you call me and you got a one-off crack that you need, we're out till about the mid of July. But I always leave a couple of days sprinkled in here to help people, and come over there and take care of a crack. Of course, we like our cracks to be dry. So, again, folks, that these cracks have been leaking. Let's get them taken care of. But I want to also jump off of what Troy said on his giveaway. We do offer discounts to our military. We do offer to our first responders, and we love our nurses. So they get a discount from us as well.
That's very kind of you. As a veteran myself, that means a lot. What about senior citizens? I'm a senior, too. Right.
Well, we can just discount you into no charge at all, if that's all being said. But, yeah, we absolutely help out. I mean, I think our pricing's fair. It's competitive with the marketing, but I think our services goes beyond many.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much. This is Troy Galloway with About the House.